Okay, hello everyone. Just had a great discussion with McDuff this morning. My voice is still kind of recovering, but all you have to do is Google McDuff if you want to see that. We talk a lot about the things more in depth than what I'm going to do here today about Lisa Page and Peter Strzok and the last days of the last days of the Shah. And was Lisa Page actually being born right around the time that Peter Strzok was leaving the American school in Tehran as a high school senior? And then the other question we have is, was his father, Steve Page, was he also in Tehran as one of those students or somehow involved in the American effort with Atoms for Peace? If you remember in 54, 53, right in there, well, Atoms for Peace, I think, comes out even a little bit earlier than that. And Iran is the first really big Middle Eastern country that benefits from the Atoms for Peace program. And Nixon, when Nixon comes in power, and especially Dick Cheney and Foster Freeze, when they come into power, these nuclear fuel rods that you see behind me become very, very important for Iran when they start building these reactors. They start with a test reactor, the same kind that BWXT makes still today in Chantilly, Virginia. And Bob Mueller's father goes into the fuel rod business from his days and knowledge of DuPont and the Manhattan Project in DuPont. So it kind of flows like this. Manhattan Project goes right into the Manhattan Project for the nuclear submarine, which is a lot of these places in Ohio where Lisa Page hails from and where Steve Page, her father, currently lives, I believe. And then you've got his wife, Lisa Page's mother, Tamara Page, also being born in Iran. So, and then coming to the United States in 1975. So it would have been during that time when we were doing a lot of exchanges, when we were ramping up the nuclear program and bringing people, Iranian students, into places like Lawrence Livermore, Lawrence Livermore Laboratories, where they end up moving, which is to Oakland and Oakland Hills. So the Iranian connection here is New York Times. Would this be a relative? I don't know what that says, Cheryl, but I'm sure it's going to be close if you said it. So just say who that relative is. Robert M. Page. Oh, physicist dies at 88. Oh, that's interesting. This is going to be really good, because we also uncovered this other guy named Stephen Page, shares the name of the father of Lisa Page, who is the top middleware developer at CERN. And the reason why that's important, he is the cybersecurity expert. Hey, Mark. Okay, you can't be in on it. You got a huge meeting with that. Thank you very much for the super chat anyway. But he is the key guy in Europe at CERN, which is the nuclear research for Europe. And there's a key Iranian contingent in that, going all the way back to 1974. And it's sort of where the NATO can put their money, if you will, and have the nuclear research keep going, even though there's sanctions against Iran. And there's a big nuclear Iranian contingent there. And Steve Page is also there. And he's not hello, good morning, Viking Trucker. He's not also ran person. He's the top guy in cybersecurity. If you don't remember, Peter Strzok is the top cybersecurity guy at the FBI. He comes in the back door through the Defense Threat Reduction Agency out of Army intelligence. He, of course, learned to jump, as a Ranger at first, and that's the picture that they try to show in Congress. But he went quickly into the Army intel side of things, the cyber command, and went into cyber hacking. His boss was also into cyber hacking at FBI, going on up to his eventual boss, which is Andy McCabe. And Lisa Page obviously was the go-between between Andy McCabe and Peter Strzok. So it's a very close, tight unit here between Mueller, Andy McCabe, Lisa Page, and Peter Strzok. And if it turns out that Lisa Page was indeed born in Iran, that she was a student, let's say, got married in 1925 to Steve Page in Oakland Hills, and then they go back to Iran until the fall of Iran. They have Lisa when she's in 1979. I think it was around September 5th or so. I can't remember exactly what day the hostages were taken in Iran. but then everyone leaves Iran. But Lisa Page, by her own words, on page 103, apparently says she's an immigrant in the transcript testimony. So this is important because she could then, being an Iranian citizen, travel back and forth to Iran, go to Kish Island, not only go to Kish Island, but now you have someone who can go all the way to the test reactor that was put in when Peter Strzok's father was living in Iran. Remember, Peter Strzok speaks Farsi. Remember, in Tehran is where the first research reactor goes. So if you're working on behalf of Bob Mueller, trying to make sure your fuel rod business is still going good, that period of 1974 through story are important. Yeah, well, look at how the somebody's asking why the 99, and I think it gives you an option for that. I don't know why it gives you an option. Glamour pricing, people are more likely to give 1999 than they are 20, I guess. I don't know what the reason for the glamour pricing on that. November 4th, yeah. So she's born about I thought it was in November. So she's born about 2 months before the Iranian Revolution. And again, you may remember me asking John Ratcliffe as he walks down the halls in Rayburn Office Building when they were questioning Page, ask him where he was born, ask him where he went to middle school, ask him where he went to high school. And then it was a couple of weeks later that it came out that he indeed, as we said, did grow up in Iran to learn Farsi. No one knew that he spoke Farsi. And I thought, hey, let's ask these things in the actual House oversight meeting. And then you probably remember the film of me following Trey Gowdy saying the same thing. Hey, we're going to ask him where did he grow up? Where did he go to high school? Because that's important. Because if you then factor that information in, Bob Mueller's father being involved in the nuclear fuel rod business, Bob Mueller's father being very involved in the Manhattan Project and the Manhattan Project for the nuclear submarine, that changes things quite a bit when you start talking about the believability of a whistleblower at the Piketon, Ohio plant that said the containers that were supposed to have the highly enriched uranium from the Russian nuclear weapons, megatons to megawatts, that were supposed to come here, that we were supposed to downblend, they were empty. The cylinders were empty. What basically happened is the Department of Energy spent a whole bunch of money. Thank you very much for the super chat. It's not fever. I think it's just a healthy glow. I don't think I have a fever. So thanks very much. I appreciate it. Here is a great reason. Remember, it's Bob Mueller that hides the fact that Oleg Deripaska is flying to Iran in 2009. He hides the fact from Robin Gritz, the person looking for Bob Levison in Iran. He hides the fact that a plane is scheduled to go there in September of 2016. To me, it sounds like they were flying the centrifuges out in 2009. Excuse me. And they were flying them someplace else in 2016 to clear the evidence. Thank you. Jack Prosovic, you mentioned Gitmo. Jack Prosovic mentioned that John McCain came down to Gitmo, and Jack was there in 2013 when he came down with Dianne Feinstein, which is the Senate Armed Self-Services Committee. And I thought, well, was there an intelligence office there? Because Jack was Navy Intel. So I thought, well, maybe they had a hacker team down there too. Because ITMO, not Gitmo, but ITMO, ITMO, is where Krylova went in St. Petersburg. This is the top hacking school. Speaking of my coughing and my hacking, this is top hacking school in Russia where they were doing cyber attack, cyber weapons. And if you look at who is the number one, again, this could be a way of rinsing technology through to Tehran, rinsing technology through to Iran, through CERN. There's a guy named Stephen Page who runs all the cyber hacking, same exact middle initial as Stephen Butler Page, the father of Lisa Page. So you put these things together and it starts looking like, hey, looks like you're protecting your business interests in Iran, Bob Mueller. I mean, to the outside world, you need to come clean. There needs to be a Mueller dossier on Bob Mueller. You seem to have a lot of irons in the fire, or better put, fuel rods in the reactor. in this one. You got a Lisa Page reactor rod, and you've got a, Peter Strzok Senior rod in the reactor, in the Iranian reactor, and you got a Peter Strzok Senior guy, and now we have a Stephen Page who may also be involved here, and another Stephen B. Page in Geneva, and then John McCain. Speaking of John McCain, he's got his man Ed Flaherty in Geneva as well, running the ambassador camp for all the nuclear research money, the NATO nuclear research money to be poured into CERN. That's on that famous award. Oh, looks like I'm getting trouble.